This episode of Soldier Knows Best is brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, and they want to remind you to click it or ticket. From May 18th through the 31st, state and local law enforcement are really going to be cracking down on motorists who aren't wearing their seatbelts. In 2013 alone, there were 9,580 unbuckled vehicle occupants that were killed in crashes here in the United States. And between 2008 and 2013, there were over 60,000 people who were saved just because they wore their seatbelt. So don't worry about trying to look cool or use the excuse that it's uncomfortable, because me personally, I'd rather be a little bit uncomfortable than to be thrown out of a car if I was involved in a crash. So put your seatbelt on. Make sure anybody who's riding with you, they have their seatbelts on too, and arrive at your destination safe, because there's a lot of people that care about you. So just put it on. Hey, what's up guys, Soldier Knows Best here. I'm back in the groove of things and catching up on some products I've been having for a while. And this is my review of the HTC One M9. Now, this phone looks very similar. It looks very similar to the M8 and also takes a lot of characteristics from the M7 as well. And it looks like HTC decided to go with, if it's not broke, don't fix it type of policy with this phone. Now, they have made a couple of changes that I do like. They have a dual tone design now with the color scheme. So you can get this phone in gunmetal gray and also silver and gold, and they also taper the edges of the phone so they have a sharp cutoff so you can have a better grip on this phone. So this still is the best feeling phone to use. Now, taking a tour around this phone, you'll find the micro USB port and the headphone jack. On the left hand side, you'll find the SIM card slot. At the top, you'll find the IR blaster, and on the right hand side, you will find the micro SD card slot to expand your storage, the volume buttons, and the power button. Now, one thing I would change with the button layout is to actually move the power button to where the volume up button is, because that's where my thumb naturally rests when I'm holding the phone. So because I use my power button more than the volume button, I would like to have that button right there to be able to access just a little bit easier than the location that it is now. And so overall with the design, it does have a lot of last year characteristics, but for me personally, that's not a bad thing. Again, I can put this phone against a lot of other phones on the market when it comes to build quality, look, and design, and this phone will probably end up #1 in more cases than not. And so some other things that you'll find in this phone is that the boom sound speakers are making a return, and now HTC has partnered with Dolby to provide some very loud, crisp, clear sounding speakers, and the audio still is good even when you put your headphones in. They've worked that around to make sure you get a really good audio experience with this phone. And the display is still just a 1080p display, which on paper definitely isn't a good thing compared to 2K and 4K displays that are coming on other top phones on the market right now. But the display is still pretty crisp. It has 441 ppi, and I never once while using this phone was like, oh my god, I can't use this 1080p display. But when I did use the S6 and I've seen the G4, it's very hard to kind of come back to this display. So if you haven't gone higher than this display, it should not be a problem at all. And the internal specs include 3 GB of RAM, 32 GB of internal storage, and an octa-core processor, which has 4 cores clocked at 1.5 GHz and the other 4 clocked at 2 GHz. And all these internal specs really make the experience while using the software on this phone as fast as possible, because this phone is running Android 5.0 Lollipop with the HTC Sense 7 skin on top of it. And the skin is a very lightweight skin, and because of that, this phone really just is really fast when it comes to performance while you're doing anything from multitasking to using any of the new features that are in Sense 7. Now, speaking of some of those new features, Blink Feed is now being replaced with HTC Sense Home. Now, it does mostly the same thing. Blink Feed basically allows you to log in with your favorite social networks and choose different categories like entertainment or science and technology and sports, and be able to view all that information in kind of a newspaper format. So that's still around in HTC Sense Home. Now, one of the things that's a part of Sense Home is the Sense Home widget, which reacts to your location. So basically it's a widget that has about 8 different apps there, and they adjust automatically to how much you use them at home, or if you're at work, or you're just out and about. So say I'm at home, it may have my Nest application or my Philips Hue application and my TV remote app all loaded in this widget, because those are the ones I use most at home. But when I get at work, or I get to work rather, it'll load up my productivity applications, or if I'm driving, it'll load up my Google Maps app and maybe my Pandora app that I like to sync to my radio. And so you can adjust this, you can customize this to your own liking and add in your favorite apps, or you can allow the software to do it automatically for you by how much you use a certain app. So I really like this. It's a very organic experience and something that you don't have to think about and just reacts to you. Now, keeping with the personalization theme, and I say theme because that's the name of this new feature that's in the HTC Sense, and it's called Themes, and it basically allows you to download different theme packages that would change the icons, the sounds, and the wallpapers of your phone. Just really give it a different look. And you can customize these, you can make your own themes, or again, you can just download some for free and some are paid. And it's another way, again, to make this phone more yours. And so at its core, HTC Sense is one of my favorite skins to use on top of Android. There could be some improvements again to the layout of some icons and settings and things like that, but for the most part I think HTC did a good job with this new version of Sense. Now, one thing they didn't do a good job with, and that is the rear facing camera on this phone. This rear-facing camera is a 20 megapixel shooter, which sounds great on paper, but we all know that megapixels don't always tell the story, and that's because this camera is really hit and miss. You can still get some good shots with this camera, but more often than not, I find myself being disappointed or having to take the picture more times than one. And so I found the rear-facing camera to not be really good in low light performance. Outdoors, you can still, again, get some decent shots, but when it comes to video and just the pictures overall with the rear camera, I'm just not satisfied with it, and it's very hard to compare it to the likes of the S6 or the new G4. Now, the front-facing camera is actually the ultra pixel camera that was in the rear of the HTC M8, so it's actually a really good camera, especially for taking selfies, of course. But overall, the camera performance is basically sums it up that you're not going to be buying this phone for its camera. You're going to want to look elsewhere. All right, so summing things up, HTC still has some passion in there. They still are trying to make this phone be the best. They just fall short in a couple areas with the display and the camera that these things can be easily remedied in the next version of this phone, but for right now, it's still kind of a wait and see. And this phone is really for people who like HTC Sense or are just a fan of this phone. If you have the M8, it is better, but not that much better. But it's probably more of a better upgrade for people who have the M7. So anyway, guys, this is my review of the HTC One M9. Let me know what you think about this phone by leaving your comment down below. And I have a lot more content coming for you guys. Make sure you follow me on all my social networks. All the links are down below as well. Like, share this video, and I will catch you later. Peace.